welcome you guys. We're on. Okay, this is where Abraham fucks up. Welcome everyone. We're here with another deck profile on EB-02 with our boy Kenta. How's it going, Kenta?
Pretty good. How are you?
So I'm doing great. So yeah, give us a quick little introduction.
Yeah. Hey everyone. My name is Kenta. Just a local One Piece player here in Utah. I've gotten lucky in the past couple times. Most recently, I got first at the LCQ in Orlando.
Let's go.
And then I've gotten a top 8 at a regional last year. But yeah, that's who I am.
Awesome. Well, you came in today as the wild card, and everyone was saying you invited Thanos. Why'd you do it? I was like, Kenta's. You've always been one of our top players here in Utah, and everyone knows it right off the bat. We actually wanted you in the season.
Yeah.
Some scheduling doesn't work out, so hopefully in the future we can get you. But came in dominating the whole thing. Like, you went undefeated today.
Yep.
You told our players pretty much like, yo, your ass at the game.
No, I didn't say that.
But overall, like, you really put sweat on our players today, and that's what we really want, because we really want to put the best competitive scenery here in Utah. That's why we're starting this league. We want to make sure everyone's on their toes. They're taking this game not just to the just for fun and everything, but stepping up to the next level, because I would love Utah to have more representation when it comes to these bigger tournaments. And that's why I want you in this thing. Hopefully in the future again we can have you. But Green Purple Luffy already barely released. It looks like you already have well control of it. So what made you feel fully comfortable to go into with this?
Yeah. First off, thank you for having me, and thank you for having me as a wild card. Long supporter of Brolic, big fan, and definitely want to continue to come out. And yeah, like you said, hopefully I'll be able to come out to a league. I definitely want to make it out here. I think it's great what you're doing for the Utah scene. Like, this is the first time that anything like this has come, and I think it's really important for players to be able to get really good reps, just because I know locally, like, sometimes a lot of times it's not actually really good reps. So being able to have a space for that, I think, is huge and should come a long way. So definitely shout out to Brolic.
Thank you.
But yeah, Green Purple Luffy, I think it's kind of the new hot deck ever since EB-02, and I think people have been waiting a long time for it, myself included. I think we've been seeing kind of the impacts it's had in Japan in the East, and so yeah, as soon as it came out, I knew I had to get my hands on it. A deck that it reminds me of is RP Law, which is where I got my first top, and I loved RP Law, and I think the playstyle is kind of very similar. So for it to come out, I just knew I had to take advantage and give it a shot.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, everyone's on it. The whole set is literally up in price.
Yeah.
These Luffys right here, they're like 80 to 85 bucks right now, bouncing between that price, and that's just the regular one. These Sanji puddings, they're still consistently at like 20 bucks. Pretty much anything on here is just fluctuating constantly, because everyone needs it right now.
Yep.
And no one's going to talk about the leader right now. That's like an easy 300 bucks. Do you honestly think, with these whole price fluctuations, do you think this will stay a consistent price for this leader moving forward, or do you think this leader is just going to lose completely once set 11 starts?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think so. In the past, at least with EB-01, we've known that the prices for that set has actually remained really high, and it really hasn't gone down, especially with no reprints. So I'm hesitant to say that it's probably going to be the same for EB-02, especially with OP11 coming around the corner. That the prices for some of these cards are just going to remain high. Like for the Secret Luffy, even though it is a staple for this deck, and this deck may not be as relevant in OP11, but that Luffy is going to be a staple in other purple decks, such as RP Luffy and even Black Purple Luffy. So I think the fact that it's such a good finisher, probably one of the best finishers in the game, it's going to remain high. It'll probably drop at some point. But in regards to OP11 in the next set, I know that Blue Purple Luffy is going to be kind of the new tier 1 deck or tier 0 deck, but I don't think Green Purple Luffy is going to go anywhere. I think it's still going to be A+ tier, and so it's still going to have legs. It's still going to find its way into topping. So yeah, there's a very high chance I stick with it in OP11.
Okay, perfect. Well, one thing, everyone's literally treasure cups are coming around. Store treasure cups are as well joining up. People are going to be running this. What's some advice that you would give a fellow green purple player for a mirror match? That's one thing a lot of people, I don't know if they have fully down.
Yeah.
So what would be a good opening hand we're going to say going first for right now.
Okay.
So what's a good opening hand that you would like to see as your starting hand for going first?
Yeah, definitely. Going first, I think this is just not only in the mirror, but in general. You definitely want to be able to find your searches. So anything from Nami to the event, or even the stage, essentially anything to help you find your pieces, I think is very important. When you're going first, you don't really have a 3-Don play, like you don't have a body or anything that you're going to play on 3-Don. So you want to be able to spend that time using your searchers to playing all your 1-cost cards, so that you can set yourself up for the later Don turns, because that's where it's going to be most important. In the mirror is essentially how many 6-drop body, or how many 6K bodies you can get down, how many Sanji puddings you have, and one other thing that's also important in the mirror is Luna. If you're going to play Luna, it's a big tempo swing in your favor, especially if you see multiple. And one thing about Luna is you can't search it. So if you do see a Luna in your starting hand, it's definitely nice, but I will say that I would rather prioritize some of the earlier pieces like Nami, the event, the stage, and even Zoro. I think going first, a lot of people think that if you're going first and you go on your 5-Don turn, that playing Sanji Pudding and then doing leader skill is the right play. I think a lot of times it's not, unless you're running Frankie or 2-cost Chopper to be able to get that Don back.
Okay.
I think a lot of times it's more important to establish your 4-drop body and then using that extra Don to play one of these searchers to set yourself up. I think that's usually the right path for a 5-Don turn.
Okay. And then, so obviously this deck, going in the mirror match, do you prefer going first or second?
I prefer going second, and I do think that is the right decision, mainly because your 6-Don turn. If you play Sanji and Pudding on 5 and then you do leader skill, you'll end up with 4-Don, and you can use that 4-Don to drop another body. And you realize that the more bodies that you have that can poke at leader, the better it's going to be, because at the end of the day, the mirror is all about resources and being able to survive and use your resources as counter and out resourcing your opponent.
Okay, perfect. Well, now moving into outside of the mirror matches and everything, not everyone's going to be able to get their hands on this deck right off the bat.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of anti-decks for this. What would you think are like the hardest matchups for Green Purple Luffy? At least leaders, or if there's just spicy decks that are like affecting you the most?
Yeah. I think right now the leaders that are finding success against Luffy are decks that leverage Kid. So you have decks like Bonnie and Red Green Smoker. Those are kind of decks that are probably the toughest matchup right now, just because there's no real way to deal with Kid, and if the green player plays it right, they can be able to take control, and then they also have access to Hody, and Hody makes us have to play a little different because it can rest Dawn. So at the end, like towards the end of the game, if we know that they have to go for lethal, we have to save a lot more Dawn and take into account that the Hody Jones can rest
true.
Dawn.
At least more than 2 Dawn. Like if you can save 3 to max 4 if you're really that desperate. Yeah. Because those Gum Giants, they need to keep you alive on big swings late game. Yeah,
definitely. Like if you can throw out a blocker and then save a few Dawn, I think that's a good way to be able to counter the Hody.
Okay, so pretty much be a bit more defensive towards late game, but still have control as early as you can, right? Would you consider that?
Yeah, I mean, this deck is all about tempo, and it's kind of the aggro deck of the set. So you need to use that to your advantage. I think a lot of people get caught up in kind of the control aspect of it, but I think in this meta, you kind of just have to keep pressuring the opponent's life and set yourself up for lethal with the like finishing it off with the Luffy. But yeah, you have to understand that towards the mid to late game, you're going to tend to do leader ability every time. So you're going to be a 6K leader. And so a lot of the times your opponent's early bodies aren't going to get a lot of value because they have to spend an extra Dawn just to even swing at you. So you can use that to your advantage and just kind of pressure life. And then you also have access to Luna, which is a disgusting card.
It really is.
Being able to rest all your opponent's characters that are 7 cost or less.
Yeah.
Again,
just stunning them.
Buys you more time, allows you to be more aggressive and take advantage of that. I will say the reason why Kid is so good right now is because not only are you forced to tack into it and it's an 8K body, but usually the green decks, they set themselves up with the TCG and Rosinantes and these blockers. So you're going to have to pressure that Kid a lot. And as you can see, there's no big bodies that green purple Luffy plays. The biggest body is going to be the pudding and the Luffy, and so a lot of times you're going to just do like 8k swings or 10k swings, and you're going to have to do that multiple turns just to get through it. I know some people are playing Gamma Knife, which is kind of a hard counter to it.
Yeah.
But even then, I think it's such a niche choice that I don't know if it warrants a spot in the list.
Very true. So I could see the Gamma Knife being at least like a 1 or 2 if in your scene you're seeing a lot of like these 8-drop kids making appearances, or if you're really scared for the upcoming events and stuff like that. But honestly, a lot of people tend to adapt to their worst matchups, but you also have to remember you want to be at your full potential in your deck. Yeah. So if you're really slowing down your full potential on your deck, adding all these extra like gimmick stuff and everything kind of slow you down. So I understand why the Gamma Knife would be important, but you obviously want to play your plays and everything. So looking at your deck right now, you went 5 rounds.
Yep.
Is there anything you would switch in this deck? I know you have like the 1-drop Luffy Taro, the 7-drop Luffy Taro, but you have 1 of. Is there anything that you'd either drop to 3 or to 4, or make any arrangements around here?
Yeah, I think so. Like you mentioned, like depending on what you read as the meta will determine what tech choices you put in. I think 8-cost Kid and Bonnie is going to be like a tough matchup. But one, I don't think it's unwinnable. I definitely still think you can win without Gamma Knife. And I also just expect that there's not going to be a lot of Bonnies, at least to start off with. So I'm expecting a lot of the mirror, which is where I kind of threw in my tech choices. But just looking through my list and going back to your question, I don't think there's anything I change right now. I feel pretty good about this, and it does feel good. I will say that like maybe there is a case for adding an extra Luffy Taro, but I would have to figure out what I would remove. It would probably be the 4-cost Usopp.
Awesome. Thank you very much again, Kenta. We've gotten some tips, we've gotten some advice and everything. Any final words that you want to be giving or anything to any of the scene here in Utah?
Yeah, I mean, just more importantly, shout out to Brolic. I think they've been, ever since I moved to Utah, probably like a little over a year ago, and I think the Brolic squad, the Brolic guys have been very welcoming, and they've been a huge part of my success. So definitely shout out to Brolic and everyone who's been involved.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Well, we very much appreciate you again. Any future tournaments that they can catch you in this upcoming event?
No future in person at the moment. Right now, I'm just signed up for a couple of the online ones for the rest of the month. But yeah, the plan is to go to Nats, so hopefully I'll make it out there.
You've done it already. I can see you doing it again.
Yeah.
Thanos is coming. I think that's the name we're just going to be having you throughout the remaining time that we ever play with you. But again, thank you very much, Kenta. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. We're multi-streaming on all social media platforms right now, so you can check us out on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. Just type in Brolic Games, and we're there for you. We're also hosting a Store Treasure Cup May 17th at Spacestation. So if you guys want to come and check us out in person, check the bio down below, and you will see all the details that you need to know. But thank you again for tuning in, you guys. Bye-bye.